All right, hi guys. I am going to do a page out of this reverse coloring book. Somebody has requested that I put this link for these coloring books in my Amazon shop, so I've got to remember to do that. Let me write that down so I remember. Amazon, Amazon link, Amazon link for the coloring book, and we're just going to get started because I'm doing something easy and not difficult to do because you know what? I haven't picked up my pen or a pencil in 8 weeks or almost 8 weeks because I was on vacation and then I was sick when I got home. So I have been out of the loop. So I'm just going to do a little thing. I picked a page that is kind of obvious sunflowers. It's obviously sunflowers. It doesn't have anything. I'm going to make this side the shady side. Make this nice and fat. I'll just make this side the shady side. So we went on our Panama Canal cruise. If anybody from the cruise is here, welcome in. I gifted some of my artwork to the gift exchange buddies. And it had my socials on it, so if anybody happens to be dropping by from that, welcome. If you ever want to go through the Panama Canal, I highly suggest it. That was an awesome experience. Very interesting. Yeah, awesome experience. We started in Tampa and we went to Grand Cayman, where what did we do in Grand Cayman? It was a tender port, so we tendered over to the island. Oh yes, we went swimming with the stingrays. I didn't go in the water, but the rest of the family did. They had an absolutely great time. It was quite the windy day. The seas were a bit rough, but you know what? They did it anyway, and they had a great time. And probably because the seas were rough, there were a lot fewer people out there in the ocean than there might have been otherwise, so they had a great time. I stayed aboard and took photos. See, I'm just going to do this. This is simple because this is an obvious page. Some of the pages are not as obvious. I don't know if you guys, well, some of you have seen it, but you know, inside the reverse coloring book, there's a lot of not as obvious pages that you could do some other kind of patterns or scribbles or whatever you want to do on them. Some of them are obviously meant to be flowers, but like this one, that's not obvious. You can do whatever you want with it. So that's what I really like about this. You can choose to do an obvious one or a not obvious one. And I'm starting with the obvious one just because, like I said, I haven't picked up a pen in like 8 weeks. And I'm out of practice. I'd almost forgotten how to set up my camera. I was going to draw yesterday on my day where I was only working in the evening. But I had forgotten to do the obvious things like charge my camera battery. So when I went to go set my stuff up, I didn't have a camera battery that was working. And by the time the battery had charged, it was time for me to go to work. So it will take me a while to get back into the swing of things. Some shadows. Thicker one's going to be on this side, I decided, right? That's what I said. Let's see. What was I saying? We did the stingrays. Yep. Swam with the rays. And that port, because it was a tender port and it was a windy day, the tendering process, the little boat that takes you from the ship out onto the shore, it wasn't a terrible process. It was a little challenging for some people that have a little bit of a mobility issues, but it was, we made it work. People made it work, right? And we had a great time. We had a great time. And then we went to Cartagena, Colombia, which is a new continent for me. What did we do there? We took the party bus. That's right, we took the party bus. You got on board the bus, and there was buckets of ice, cups, bottles of Coca-Cola, and bottles of rum, and you just made yourself however strong of a drink you wanted to make, and it was all you could drink. So if your bottle of rum ran out, you could get another one. I had like half a drink. The rest of my fam had more. That's fine. Pardon me, I do have a cough, so if I stop every so often to cough, I apologize. I will try to cover my microphone as best I can when that happens. So we saw the walled city. We had some very loud music. I must say, it was fun. But if you can't do loud noises, if the sounds at a club would bother you, don't go. Like the party bus had maybe 10 rows of seats, and the band was sitting in row 5, right in front of us. And so we had the drums, the accordion, and this guy was playing a musical instrument that looked like a cheese grater with a stick. Made a very loud, raspy noise. It was a good noise. It made great music, but boy, was it loud. And then, I thought that was loud, and then they turned on the speakers. There was one speaker practically above everybody's head. There were like 8 or 10 speakers in this little bus. It was an open air bus, and I was thank God for that. But that was even louder. I I thought it was loud with the guys with the music, and it was even louder with the party, you know, American songs, typical party songs. Uh, but it was fun. We got a little tour of the city. Um, but like I said, I don't know why I didn't think about bringing my earplugs, and I didn't. So earplugs, highly recommended. Highly recommended. And so we saw the fort. We saw the got on top of the walls of the walled city. Did a little dancing. Did a little drinking. Did a little singing. It was fun. It was a fun day. Um, Much better than a uh, sedate tour of the city, because there were those offered as well, just your standard, typical uh, air-conditioned bus things. That was not this tour. Sedate it was not. And of course, there was the typical, here's my friend's shop. Go spend money in this shop and don't go spend money in the shops next door, kind of a thing. But as long as we kept track of where our guide was, we kind of just did our own thing with the shopping portion of the day. What else was I going to say? So that was Colombia. And then we went through the canal, and that was awesome. Pretty much we started our approach to the canal about 8 a.m. You go under this bridge, and then there it is. And then the passage for the first, on the Atlantic side, passage takes you through, was it 3 locks? Or was it 4? I think it was 4. Gosh, I've already forgotten. That's terrible. 3 or 4 locks. And you're going into the locks this way, side by side. The locks, the ship was coming down. Our ship was going up like that. And of course, the locks are very, very busy. So, there's one ship right after another. It was fascinating. The weather was hot and muggy, and it got really cloudy and dark kind of suddenly as we were going through, I believe it was the first lock. And then it just started pouring down rain. Came down in buckets, but it only lasted for about maybe 5 minutes. And then it was steamy. Very, very steamy. So you have to be prepared for the weather. I didn't happen to be at the same place that any of the rest of my family was at that moment. I was down underneath, on deck 3, underneath the lifeboats, so I stayed dry. That happened to be a good thing. Decided this flower's on top. And this flower's on the bottom like that. That's what I've decided. Um, but we just kind of went everywhere. Um, there were some people who had staked out spots on the deck above the bridge, like at 6 o'clock in the morning. They were up there. They were parked. They weren't moving. They weren't going anywhere. Um, but you know what? I mean, that was interesting and everything up front. But I think if you just stayed there, you would have missed some of the more interesting things. I moved all around the ship. I went up on the top decks. I went on the lower decks. I I walked everywhere on the ship to see everything. See everything. It was really hot though at some points. It was more than I could handle at some points. You know what was the best place to sit and watch? Was in the dining room. There was nobody in the dining room. There were like 3 people in the dining room, and we were sitting in the back, and we were just watching, and we could sit, and we could be comfortable, and it was air conditioned, but we could still watch what was going on. One tip for you guys, if you ever go, that was a great place to sit. But I would come and I would go and I would go in there and I'd come back, and I have no idea where the rest of my family was. I was just moving, moving, moving. And then once you get out of the first set of locks, then you go through the Lake Gatan, and through the cut channel of the canal, and then you go across the Continental Divide, where you are no longer on the East Coast, you are on the West Coast. Change continents, and then you go through this last set of locks, which is not as big as the first set of locks, and they're slightly different, but they're similar but slightly different. And then your day is over. Next thing you know, it is like 6 p.m. and your whole day is gone, and you've done nothing but wander around the ship taking pictures of all sorts of stuff. I did stop for lunch. That was good. I found my family at lunchtime. And then, let's see, then what did we do? Then we went to, after the locks, we went to Punta Arenas, Costa Rica, where some of our family, what did they do? We all went different ways. We didn't all take the same excursion that day. My husband and I took the butterfly gardens and hummingbird tour. It was okay. Wasn't the best tour I've ever had. The butterfly garden part was very good, I must say. The young man who works at the butterfly garden was our tour guide. He was very knowledgeable about the butterflies, about the other critters that live in the garden. He was able to really give some good information. And help pick out the butterflies. He could see them. That's his job. He's looking out for butterflies, birds, beetles, whatever might be in the garden. So he was very good, very, very good. Now, do I want to give it some kind of leaf stem. Do they want to live just like that? What do I want to do? Let's think about it. Let's take my pencil and think about it. This way, this way, no, this way. That'll work. Okay, I'm going to use my green marker. Which one? This one? So what else? Butterfly garden, hummingbirds. That was in Costa Rica. Costa Rica was having a lot of brush fires. I didn't expect to see as much brown as I did. Expected a lot greener, but apparently they've been in quite the drought. So they were brown, and you could see brush fires happening all around. They said they just let them burn unless there is, structures or something. But most of the country is not populated, so they just let it burn. Something like that. Do we need leaves? Sure we do. We need leaves. Then we went to, we're supposed to go to Cabo San Lucas. We got there. There were 3 other ships in port. There were 3 other ships tendering in port, which is little water shuttles from the ship to the shore. Yet they told us that the weather conditions were such that we were not going to be tendering and we would be missing this port. I just don't understand. We suspect that what happened is that there were a lot of people with the mobility issues in Grand Cayman and that it was causing issues and they just didn't want to deal with it at Cabo, so they just canceled us. I must say, they know the age of the people who are going to be on these kinds of trips. I suspect that they're frequently older folks that are on, I want it on this side, I don't know why I put it on that side. Frequently older folks that are on this particular voyage because it's a longer one, because of the time of year. It's during school time. There was maybe a dozen children And apparently we were one of the young ones, our group of people who were over 50. We were the young crowd. The average age was 75. And I think they just didn't know. I think they weren't prepared. But, my husband was upset because they could have chosen a different port for our ports. Ones that didn't have tendering. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. It was disappointing. We had plans, but we still had fun. My sister-in-law celebrated her birthday while we were on board, and her friend made sure everybody knew it was her birthday. She got her a birthday sash, and people in the dining room sang her happy birthday. People at the karaoke sang her happy birthday. Happy birthday wishes all around. Excuse me. So that was a fun day. And then I got sick. Luckily, the last 5 days of the trip were all sea days. So I self-isolated for 3 days in my cabin so that I wouldn't pass, or at least try not to pass my sickness on to anybody else. Of course, my husband got it, but, he couldn't go sleep anywhere else. So by the time it was time to fly home, I was feeling a little bit better. He was feeling worse. He had a miserable flight home. I felt bad for him. And then we got home and I still didn't feel very good. I had taken a couple of extra days vacation so that I wouldn't have to go right to work the day I got home, which was good. So I slept for 2 more days and then went back to work, but I still wasn't feeling very good. And so went to the clinic and was diagnosed with a sinus infection. So I went on a round of antibiotics, finally finished those. So I'm finally feeling like a human being again. But like I said, my plan was to come home and draw a little bit and tell you guys about my vacation right when we got back. Those 2 days before I had to go back to work, that was my plan. That plan did not work. So I've been 2 weeks of being sick at home without drawing anything. So this is fun to just not really think. Not really plan. Just give her a little. There we go. That looks good. That looks good. Now you guys can see it this direction. Let me turn it. There you go. And that is today's thing. I now that I feel like I've warmed up a little bit, I've gotten a little more into doing my thing. We can do a pattern on the next one video. But I just needed something to get my hands going so that I wasn't struggling. And I want to tell you about my trip. So then it was kind of uneventful going up toward Seattle. It was all sea days. It got cold. It got windy. We did a little thing where we did a little boat competition, built a little boat. Our boat did not have enough ballast, so she didn't fare well in the choppy seas of the main swimming pool. But we had fun, and then it was time to come home from Seattle. So I would absolutely 100% do it again. 100%. Had a great time. I think that's it. That's all I was going to tell you guys. You guys go out and do something nice for someone today. Have a blessed day, and I will get moving into getting things done here. Looks like, oh, well, you're going to see this. You're going to see this on the Tuesday after Mother's Day in the United States. So happy Mother's Day to everybody. And yeah, I better get this thing published because guess what? Tomorrow is Mother's Day. So yeah, I got to get this thing published. You guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys later. I think I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to make that the thumbnail like that, I think. That's good. All right. Have a blessed day, everyone. Bye-bye.